Hi there, my name is Drew, and if we haven't met before, welcome to ReadyBudgetGo. If this isn't your first visit, welcome back. I'm glad you're here either way. It's Friday, so it's time for the weekly reel. That's where I share my real budget numbers, my real triumphs, and my real mistakes. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's start with a cash dump. If you're new to my channel, I give myself $50 each week in spending money. It's kind of mad money. I don't track exactly where every dollar goes. I do track that I've spent $50, and I'll show you that later in the budget review. But for any cash that I don't spend, I accumulate that throughout the month, and then at the end of the month, that funds savings challenges in the next month. So let's start with the coins. I think it's just pennies this week. Should be about 6. I went to the cheesesteak stand 3 times for lunch. It was a very busy week, yep. So not a lot of time to cook. So these are going to go in here, along with all the other change, and I don't count it. That is just a pouch that accumulates coins, and when it gets full, I will redeem it for a gift card or something. Most of what is in here is pennies. Okay, so coins are done. Now let's talk about the leftover bills. So in here should be whatever's left from that $50. Oh, and I also have money in my wallet too. Let me take that out. Give me just one sec here. I forgot I had gone, one of the days that I went to the cheesesteak stand was today, so I had more cash in here. Okay. Just get everything arranged. Okay, so leftover, I have 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, $17. Yeah, that's about right, because I went to the cheesesteak stand 3 times, and each time it's $10.98. So I had 6 pennies and $17 from the 50. So this money now is going to go into this envelope, or this pouch rather, and I think it goes in this one. Oh, goodness. Yeah, we're going to put it in this one. And this will be all the money that I have not spent out of my so-called allowance so far for the month. I have 1 more week left to go in the month. So even though April starts next week, the Friday is still in March, so the whole week counts for March. So far, and I've put these bills in backward. I like to have the bigger bills in the back. So far, what I have not spent out of the $50 a week that I give myself is 20, 45, 55, 65, 6, 7, 8, 9, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $95. Not too bad, not the best ever, but not too bad. Okay, so that is going to stay in here. That will fund my Happy Mail Jail and my Pirate Treasure Island Savings collab for April. And then I also need to fund next week's spending money. So that is what this pouch is for. So there should be 50 in here, and there is 2 20s and 2 5s. So that is going to go in here. And then next week, I will need to go to the cash machine or to the bank and take more money out. I am really going to try to film a video of how I determine how much cash I need. I have been meaning to do that the last 2 months, and it has just gotten away from me. But hopefully this month will be different. Okay. Let's get into the budget. So I didn't spend any money toward the big move this week. If you're new, the big move is the project that I'm currently working on where I am relocating to another state. Anything that I spend toward that goes into this tracker here. And I also account for how much money I have saved toward it. So right now I am in deficit for about $4, meaning that I have taken out of the savings accounts $4 too much to repay the expenses that I've had. So it's only $4. I'm not going to worry about it, but I keep the tracker here. And I printed out more pages just because I know there are going to be many, many, many more expenses, most of which will happen in the second half of April, first part of May. Okay, but let's talk about this week and what happened in the budget. So no income this week because I get paid twice a month, on the 15th and on the last day of the month. In March, the 15th was on a Sunday, so I got paid on the 13th, which was a Friday, and I won't get paid again until next Tuesday. So next week I will have this to fill in. Two more bills came out this week. I had PUD, which is my electricity, come out for $48, so that was well under budget. That was about 20% under, so that's good. And then Visible is my cell phone service. That was $35. So I still have Orca, which is my transit card. I probably will have another expense there, but I haven't paid for that yet. So that is just still pending. I think I put $10 on earlier this month, and I haven't written it down, but I will. At the end of the month, I'll look and see how much I put on Orca and write it in here. Orca is, again, the local transit card, and I am trying not to put too much into Orca because once I move, I'm not going to be using it anymore, but I will need to add a little bit more. Okay, wallet spending, which is the money that I give myself each week. So I give myself $250 on credit cards and $50 in cash. And this week I spent a total of $269.76. So I am under budget. I have made up for the first week. I don't know if the last week will make up for the second week. We'll see how things go. I've got some toiletries that I need to buy this week that may push that higher, but we'll see. $100 did go into my stockpiles for the week, or my sinking funds. I call them stockpiles. And then savings and extra debt, I did put $655 toward my savings. Right now, all of my savings is going toward the big move. So I will talk about that when we get to the savings section here in a little bit. Okay, cash allocation I don't usually talk about after the start of the month. Cash flow tracker, this is more or less a savings, not a savings register, a check register for everything that comes into and goes out of my checking account. So far, only one deposit this month from that first paycheck. Two withdrawals this week. I had a credit card payment to one of my credit cards for $370 thereabouts, and then I did transfer $655 into savings. Then the expense tracker. So anything that I put on a credit card, I write down in here. And I also note the weekly cash that I spent, and I always write that down as $50, no matter if I spend the full $50 or if I spend none of it. I always record it as $50. The reason I do that is because once I take that $50 out of my account and once I allocate it toward the week, that money is a sunk cost as far as I'm concerned. So the money that I don't spend is sort of a bonus, and then I stash it into other savings challenges for fun things. But I always write down that I spent $50 each week. Okay, so other expenses this week, lots of DoorDash. Again, a very busy week. I had a busy week at my 9-to-5 job. I am coming out of travel status last week. And of course, I have my Etsy shop and everything else, plus preparing for the big move. And it's tax season, and. So just a very busy week overall. So not a lot of time to cook. I did get some groceries from Gross Out. Sorry, that's Grocery Outlet. We call it Gross Out. You may not have those where you are. It's a discount grocery store. And it's okay if you're flexible with what you're going to buy. If there are things that you need, they may not carry it. So for example, one of the things that I wanted this week was tomato paste, and they didn't have tomato paste. So, but they have things, how do I put this? They have most things that you would go to a grocery store to buy, but you may not get your preferred brand. So I did buy spaghetti sauce, but I bought a totally different brand than I would have otherwise bought. So, okay. So otherwise, lots of DoorDash. I did have a Lyft charge here. This was actually from my time in Los Angeles, but it just didn't post to the credit card until this week, so it got put into this week. Trip to McDonald's. I did pay $4 to the laundromat to dry my clothes. It's a long story. Basically, my dryer isn't working currently, and I just don't have time right now to deal with the maintenance staff in my building to come and get it fixed, because it probably would mean replacing it. And it's just more hassle than I have time to deal with right now. So for now, I am just paying to dry my clothes. My building does have a laundromat in the top floor. So, and I live one down from the top floor, so I just take my clothes up there to dry them. $2 a load. It is what it is. Okay, that is it for expenses. And again, this was all recorded in the budget overview for the wallet spend for the week. And then we have the month end review, and then we're into April. So let's talk about savings. Okay, emergency fund is fully funded and have not touched that. I will take money out of my emergency fund if I absolutely have to fund the big move. If I do tap my emergency fund, then that becomes my top priority for replenishing. That isn't my plan right now because I have these other piles of money for the big move. But it's nice to know that I have a backup if the move ends up costing more than I think it will. Okay. Blip Fund I am not working on yet. That is one of my goals for this year, but it is not a right now goal. So let's talk about one of the savings challenges that I'm doing for the big move, and that is the subscription tracker. And so, as many of you know, in order to be monetized on YouTube, one of the requirements is that you have 1,000 subscribers. And I am approaching that number. I was at 935 a couple days ago, and then this morning it went down to 931, and now it's back up to 933, so I'm just kind of bouncing along. And I did color in another bubble from last week. I had also filled in a $50 transfer that I had missed, so that brought it up to $45.50. And then $100 I put in this week, and that brought it to $46.50. So that is accurate for being at 930 plus subscribers. When I get to 940, I will add in another $50 and bring the total up to $4,700. And I keep saying I'm going to try to pop up a picture of my savings from Wealthfront. If I remember to do so, I will. That will show you the $1,500 in my emergency fund. It'll show you the $46.50 in the Big Move subs account. And it will also show you the $36.93 in the Big Move books account. So Wealthfront, in order for me to put money in there, it's a two-step process. I use an intermediary bank. The reason that I do that is because I don't want to give Wealthfront access to my main checking account directly. So any money that I put into Wealthfront has to go through another bank. That also serves the purpose of not making the money in Wealthfront too easy to access. So I also have another savings account at the intermediary bank. The interest rate isn't as good and the money is lots more accessible. But I did deposit this week, and I didn't write it down, so that is going to be $325. I deposited 655, or I transferred in 655, so that will bring it to 1305. And the reason that I didn't make a transfer last week is because I had spent money I'd spent money for the big move. So I just left that money in my checking account, and when the credit card bill comes due, it'll pay the credit card. So that is it for savings. That is it for the budget overview for the week. And it's just that simple, I guess. So I am really looking forward to the big move that's coming up, and there will be lots of spending in April. I'm kind of bracing for it. I did share my April budget that went up last week, so if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to go and check that out. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll save money if you do. And until I see you in the next one, take care.